Let me call to order the October 24th Legal and Legislative Committee meeting for today. I'd like to welcome our committee members, Louis Alford, Mylan Blake, Mike Hughes, and Cindy Slater, and welcome our staff that's here joining us today. We'll move straight into the agenda. First of all, looking at you've had a chance to peruse the January 31st, 2024 minutes. Is there any movement on the minutes? So moved by Louis Alford. In a second?
Second.
Seconded by Cindy Slater. Any discussion? We call the roll here? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. All right. We'll move swiftly into the agenda. We have the HCI United Way Hospital Proceeds Policy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The current HCI general procedure to prevent eligible organizations from applying for and receiving hospital proceeds from both Bradley County HCI and the United Way HCI proceeds in the same fiscal year. While I understand that this provision aims to protect HCI from funding new and unapproved organizations, there are some well-established organizations that may have the capacity and need to seek funds from both sources. Mr. Chairman, I move to amend the HCI general procedure to permit eligible organizations that have been established for a minimum of 10 years to apply for and receive hospital funds from both Bradley County HCI and United Way HCI. Chairman, I put that in form of motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mike Hughes. Any discussion? Commissioner Slater.
So why would we do that? Why would we only allow organizations to be funded from one entity or the other to allow funding to be dispersed to more groups?
This is my understanding, this goes back to the beginning, that they came up with a double dipping policy because they didn't want startups going over to, and I'm being somewhat free with the words here, to United Way and to Bradley County. But that's why we thought about the 10 years, and I just thought 10 years is pretty, if you've been established for 10 years, you're going to be around for a while. But we've had two cases where I think HCI in Bradley County is more bricks and mortar, and United Way is more programs and stuff like that. And two have been denied because they received funds from United Way. So I just thought, if we wanted to, this is the time to do it. But I wanted them to be established from organizations that have a track record. That's kind of the intent.
Commissioner Alford.
I guess my concern would be, what organizations are we talking about? How many organizations we talking about? And
the two that got denied was, I hope I'm saying this right, Caris
Caris Dental
Medical.
and Medical.
Dental, and Caring Place. Two well-established, one and doing good things, that both were denied because of the policy. I mean, that's the motivation behind it.
And both had been long-term committee members of this community, doing great things, and then one was in the building process.
Yeah, Lori, help me here. I think Caring Place, they wanted a dental chair or something, and so we can do something bricks and mortar, physical, tangible. That's an itemized or a deductible asset, whereas a program, as you know, is what they get, I guess, from United Way every year. I forget what Caring Place it was, but I think theirs was, they didn't even know they received money. They've received money in the past from United Way, and I think their finance director, her, Tanya, that year they changed it that they would be funded from HCI. So that's the motivation behind it. That's just
And further discussion. Yeah.
are we dealing with just people that are in United Way, that get money from United Way, or are we dealing with any entity in the whole community?
Help me-
Certainly. So the policy that we're talking about is, for lack of better understanding, the double dipping policy. So this will only apply to those organizations that are already receiving HCI funds from United Way, okay? If you're an organization that's not receiving funds from United Way, then you're okay. You're going to proceed as usual, okay? It won't prohibit anyone, whether you've been here 2 years, 18 months, or 20 years. The ones that we're concerned about, and to Mylon's point, he's right, that was the spirit and the intent of the policy. Let's say, for instance, Acme nonprofit organization started up this time last year. They've been in business per se. They're still trying to get their money together, okay? Yeah, sure, they've got their 501c3, but they really don't have a budget. We wanted to protect HCI funds to prevent startup organizations from saying, okay, I don't have any money, but I want to get started, so let me take capital improvement money from the Bradley County, programming money for salaries and programs from United Way. And they may or may not be in business this time next year. It really is just a policy to protect HCI funds and to ensure in 10 years, those funds that we contribute to a project, the community will still benefit from it. It's not going to be taken and disposed of, consumed, and we have nothing to show for it. So that's the intent of this policy change, is to allow those organizations that are well established and we know that will be here in 10 years to double dip.
Who's going to do the criteria or checking on if these people are, like you say they are, they've been here X number of years and they're well established? Who's going to be the policy or the group that has to go through and analyze all that, see if they are actually able?
That is part of the Bradley County HCI process. So when an applicant completes their letter of intent, and if they are invited to submit a full application, all of that information will be documented in both of those documents so that they'll answer the question, are you receiving United Way HCI funds? So it's the HCI committee, and I work closely with them, and we make sure that currently, we make sure that they're not double dipping, a la the Caring Place that was affected last year.
Mr. Hughes?
I have a question. It's a little off subject, but not totally. Is there a policy that's in place that says United Waste just deals with programs, or or could they be brick and mortar? Because I mean, just because they never have doesn't mean that they couldn't. Is the reason I'm saying that.
Well, I would need to look into that. I'm not as well versed with their HCI policies as I am Bradley County's. And Bradley County's has historically been bricks and mortar, but not really bricks and mortar anymore, but capital projects. As Mylon mentioned, a dental chair, it's a depreciable asset. So we do projects that aren't bricks and mortar, but they are long-term depreciable assets, whereas they fund more programming type activities is what I understand. But again, I'm not intimately familiar with their policies and procedures.
Which I understand what you're saying, but if that's just a norm and not a policy, should we look at possibly putting that in place to where?
We don't have any authority.
So we
to
have
my
no
knowledge,
authority to
over
do
the
that?
United Way hospital proceeds.
Okay.
That's entirely their decision on how they use those funds. As long as it's within the realm of the decree.
Yeah, they still have to follow under health, welfare, and quality of
Quality
life.
of life.
That's
Correct.
that's in the judgment or whatever degree, but
For me, I was
they're a
just.
lot more.
Oops.
They have a lot more leeway than I guess we do. I've only been one of them. They actually, I think, pay salaries out of it and other things. We definitely don't.
For me, I was just trying to get some clarity because the way it sounded, all they could do is do programs and that was it. And I just wanted to make an understanding that they could do brick and mortar also. So with that, I kind of understand where you're going with this.
Further discussion?
I still have some concerns as are we opening a can of worms, of everybody that might fall in that category and all of Bradley County might start applying? Then the HCI's got a whole bunch of stuff they gotta go through rather than just
The-
letters of
I will say
intent.
this, Commissioner Alford, the application still has to stand on its own. When the HCI committee looks at the application, and it basically says, we want, you know, rocking chairs, so I'm just being facetious, then, I mean, the application has to stand on its own versus all the applications, all the other applications that are in front of them. So if you've got, you know, 10 applications and 9 of them are fantastic, and that last one just didn't, then this is just, if it is an application that warrants, then, in other words, they were immediately cut off last year, and the application wasn't even looked at. So the application still has to stand on its own as a good application. As far as the number of 501(c)(3)s, nonprofits, I think the ones that are over 10 years are a handful. There's really not that many, I think. But yeah, yeah. In order for them not to get cut off by double dipping.
Further discussion? Ready to vote? Call the roll. Let's say aye. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Okay, item B.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, our current public water fund policy requires extensions be 6 inches minimum diameter, I can't speak, line. We recently approved a project for 2-inch line based upon the recommendation of Cleveland Utilities, who determined that 2-inch line was required to ensure the freshness of the water and confirmed the line would never be extended beyond the project endpoint, eliminating the potential of expansion. Southeast Tennessee Development District Representative Chuck Hammonds, who reviewed all of the public water fund applications, acquiesced that the Cleveland utility decision and suggested the county amend the policy to allow for instances such as this when a 2-inch or 4 inches is appropriate. Mr. Chairman, I move to amend the Bradley County Public Water Fund policy by amending the first criteria to say extensions shall be a minimum of 6-inch diameters unless the utility provider determines that a smaller diameter is suitable based on the current and future needs of this area. Mr. Chairman, I put that in the form of motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any
And we had,
is there a second? Yes. Commissioner Alford, thank you.
so, I'll just say this, I think the Cleveland Utilities engineers, when they make their recommendation, they have the background, the knowledge, experience, they know what they're doing. And I respect that Southeast Tennessee was following the policy.
Right.
But they don't have engineering degrees. Cleveland Utilities, if they wanted it, and they thought it was necessary to have a 6-inch or whatever, they've done the engineer work. So you kind of like, you don't want policy trumping an engineering decision just because it's a policy. But they do have to make a engineering decision, and it had to be known, otherwise the policy is in effect. So,
Thank you. Commissioner Alford.
Just a quick question, Mr. Blake. If you're running from a 2-inch to a 6-inch, that's gonna run a lot more expensive. Is that still gonna be part of the water fund that we pay the 6-inch line instead of a 2-inch line? Cause it's gonna, in other words, it's gonna cost a heck of a lot more to run a 6-inch line than a 2-inch.
I don't know about the cost. All I'm saying is, yeah, engineers over here are saying that it's from an engineering point of view, 2 inches and the project, and then you got policymakers, and policy went ahead of the engineering, and a project was not approved because that should have been approved because policy dictated.
I don't have a problem moving it.
But I don't know about the cost.
I don't.
Yeah,
I think it
we've
will
done 6-inch lines before.
probably go down. Commissioner Slater.
We have done 6-inch lines because that's our current policy. All of our public water fund projects are 6-inch lines. So that's what we've been doing for years. This will actually go down to a
This one-
2-inch line when it's suitable based upon the recommendation of Cleveland Utilities. And I don't know how much it will really affect the cost. I think most project costs are based upon topography and, you know, access issues and that kind of thing. So I can't say if going from a 6-inch to a 2-inch would either increase or decrease the cost.
Commissioner Slater.
So if you look at the public water fund policy, does number 3 not already say that? Extensions must be new construction or replacement of existing lines 4-inch or less in diameter? Would that not cover it?
Well, I think in this situation, when they think that a 2-inch line would work and is what is suitable, a 2-inch line does not meet this criteria. Yes, it's new construction and it is a new extension.
And it says, or 4-inch or less in diameter?
I read that, section 3 to say that the extension must be new construction or replacement, so you're replacing a 4-inch or less with a 6-inch. So that's the justification for us to get involved, that you have a 2-inch or a 4-inch and we're putting in 6-inch. So I think that's covering that being the case, and what we're seeking to do here is to say it's okay on occasion, if the engineers approve it, to say we're gonna leave a 2 or 4-inch and continue on with that. So I do think it would need to be changed.
Further discussion?
The engineers have to justify why they're going with that decision.
Okay, ready to vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes.
Mr. Chairman,
Ad
that's all I
hoc
have.
committee. Oh,
Oh, I'll second.
okay, sorry. Mike gets this one. Let's go to ad hoc committees, please. Oh, sorry. My bad. Good. Commissioner Alford.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, one of the primary reasons for this establishing the Public Waters Fund is to assist homeowners whose wells have either dried up or become contaminated. When an application indicates contamination on their application, I propose that we require proof of this contamination. The cost of the testing is relatively low, and homeowners should view it as a minor expense in comparison to the significant costs associated with replacing a well or extending a water line. Therefore, I move that we require proof of contamination of all public water fund applications that claim such issues.
Thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Slater, discussion.
The test and results before an award is made, not after. Well,
Right.
you didn't say,
Yeah, before,
not like, oh, we
after the.
give them water line and then, oh, by the way, you want to,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I think that was assumed, I'm sure. Any discussion? It was like a good move. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those in favor, passed. Ad hoc committees.
I think that's me. As you know, we've created a number of ad hoc committees over the years. I think some of them actually go back into last term. I just make a motion that all the ad hoc committees, Lori has a list of them. I think Commissioner,
Animal,
former Commissioner Epperson had one. Remember what was
several task force.
the one we did the study on or something. Anyway, those that haven't met in a year be dissolved.
Motion's been made that these ad hoc committees be dissolved. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Hughes, any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Now we move to other business. Any other Business.
Yes,
yes,
Mr.
Commissioner.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I ask the committee consider amending the commission rules of procedure to establish clear guidelines for drafting letters related to matters germane to county government. We've all been here long enough to have heard more than once that we, Bradley County, must look at for as far as authorization to do something in public or private acts. I understand constituents contact us daily to request help with a laundry list of issues, but our authority is limited. When an issue falls within the county legislative body jurisdiction, we should assist to the fullest to extent possible. But when it is an issue that remotely connected to county business or county authority, we can allocate commission time and resources to address them, period. Mr. Chairman, I move that to amend the Bradley County Rules Procedures to restrict the commission's ability to draft letters solely to matters directly related to official county business and to require all letters to pertain to functions, service, or issues directly associated with the responsibility and operation of county government, and to include a provision that allows questions regarding the authority to act shall be referred to the chairperson and the county attorney for their determination, subject to an appeal to the county commission at a next regular meeting.
It's been seconded as well as presented. Discussion. Commissioner
I'll
Hughes.
just, I think that's pretty good. This does not preclude an individual commissioner who wants to write a letter on their own. Right, this is just a letter that the 14 of us are gonna vote as a commission, like we did the other day. But if you wanna write one on your own, knock yourself out. You feel so inclined, so I think it's a good, policy change. Thank you.
Mr. Hughes.
Quick question, does this include letters to the state also when we're requesting them to look into other issues? The county business can be determined however you want to look at it, because I could look at anything and say that's county business. Just me personally, my thoughts.
Any further discussion? What?
I have. That the commissioners handle it. See the person.
And you're saying the final decision would be the chairperson or our administrative assistant?
If they were to
It is. You know, what I think of is the request for us to support Israel. You know, obviously, we're not going to be getting into that war, but at the same time, there is and that would be determined whether we send a letter to the State House or ask the State House to respond. Then the chair and our director assistant would make that decision, correct? Final decision, yeah.
What question?
Yes, sir. Yes.
I know in the extent of time that I've been here, this body, county body, has been involved in a lot of things that doesn't fall into our jurisdiction to say, but we've gotten involved. It's same as the veteran the other day. We were all involved in that. Does that truly fall in under us? No, it doesn't. But it was taking care of one, or at least two people that's here district, and it was a way of helping them people. So I don't see any other way of doing it sometimes. I mean, sometimes you have to help your constituents, you have to do what you have to do. And personally, I don't see a problem with requesting something when you're making only a request. Now, I know it's a letter, but it's still something that when everyone up here agrees on it, then I don't see an issue with that.
Well said.
Because and I will say at that time, if you don't agree with it, all you have to do is vote no.
Mr. Hoffman.
But in a public meeting, it's hard to sit here and turn down a constituent that's maybe Bill's brought or Howard brought or somebody brought to complain about, we'll go back, just take Ocoee, the water situation a couple of weeks ago, you know. It's hard to sit here and say, no, we're not gonna send a letter when you got 12 or 10 or 11 others saying yes to it, you know. You look like a clown sitting up here saying no. That's why you don't need to write the letter, in my opinion. If a commissioner wants to handle it, then let him write a letter on his own, and deal with it. Or go see the person.
Which I somewhat agree with that, but it's the same sense as say, I have voted no and been the only person to vote several times, and I'm sure that, well, I know for a fact every one of us sitting up here have at one time or another. So a no vote is a no vote, and I just don't see the reason for it at this point.
Further discussion? Good discussion. Are we ready to vote? Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No,
Carries. I think a lot of this will be processed when we see exactly where extraneous letters have gone out. This will stop those from happening. And if there is a need for a letter to that the majority would agree to, then it would be appropriate. So I think it's good caution. Great. Okay, other business, anything else? Yes. 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 Any other business?
That's a policy that the chairman of a committee passes has to.
It'll be my pleasure to.
That was done, what, about 5 or 6 years ago?
Yeah, I'll be glad to do that. Is there any other business? Is there anyone in the House that would like to speak to our committee? We'd be pleased to hear. If there's somebody outside might use it. You at the table, do you have anything you'd like to share with our committee? Okay, it's my privilege to call this meeting adjourned.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Hey, buddy, tell him. Yeah.